Hey guys, still here, and welcome to the jungle. We're on jungle law today in a 10v10, and as you can see, it's a pretty short video. That's because it's a pretty short game, which is actually quite irregular on jungle law. Jungle law does not really have any quick win opportunities, because it's such a thin map. You don't really have a lot of flanking opportunities, either around Mike or around Echo. Usually it ends up in a sort of a stalemate. It can really turn into this meat grinder, where you throw infantry at each other in Gulf. You throw longer range units at each other in Mike, or you skirmish around here. Over on the right, this is a more difficult area to push through because you have these ridges. Overall, it's just quite hard to make a very good push. But Sergeant Gubic, with his Yugoslavian general deck, is going to do it. He's going to push right through. In case you're wondering, why aren't you covering a standard 3v3, 4v4 game where nothing really exciting happens? Well, that's exactly the point. Nothing exciting happens. At this point, I probably have at least 1,000 Wargame videos on my channel. That means I have looked at about 1,500 to 2,000 replays, plus all the games that I've played myself. So I have seen a lot of Wargame, and in order to keep at least making these videos interesting for me, and probably for you as well, because I wouldn't be surprised if you've also seen a lot of different tactics and strategies. This is why I pick these more, well, let's say unusual tactics. And yes, you can go off in the comments and saying that Blue 4 was a bad team, Red 4 was a bad team, this one had full of noobs, this one was full of noobs. Sure, go ahead. But let's just enjoy the gameplay as we have it. Now, Sergeant Gubic with his Yugoslavian armor, Yugoslavian general, is going in with a lot of tanks. M84AN, a couple of recon tanks, one Vihor, a couple of Savas to make sure they don't get pestered by helicopters, some Vidra, and importantly, 2 command tanks, 2 M84 AKs, and this is going to play a significant role later. Of course, he's not quite going alone. There are a multitude of different transports all heading towards the right flank. I think that this is one player, 2... I see a lot from Jakarod and Jared. We got Sheckelstein. Yeah, that's a really big force composition. And it's not the only stuff, there's even more here. Judging by the amount of forces they're deploying and the estimation of value of these forces, I think they started out with 750 to 1,000 points. I mean, these things are all 110. Command tanks are 170 each. So this is a pretty large starting budget. Let's see if the force distribution is okay on the left. Well, we got a lot of transports and tanks going that way, but I think they might be a little light on the left and middle. Looks like they banked a lot on this right flank. We also got a column going middle. This is Bobo. Bobo goes in with a couple of AA units, some M84ANs, a Gazelle to drop off there to capture the area. It is destruction, by the way, if I didn't mention that yet. This could be a problem, Greg. But let's not worry about that. Let's just focus what Sergeant Gubic is doing. Normally, I wouldn't really want to place my tanks out in the open too much, especially since he doesn't have any mortars in this column, so he cannot create his own cover by the virtue of smoke. He's gonna have to try something else. And well, what do tanks do better than just push up? So that's exactly what he's going to do. Interestingly, it seems that neither team decided to go for a helicopter offensive over here to quickly capture the area and deploy infantry early, and then wait for their armored or, mechanized or motorized pushes to follow up. They just all decided to go motorized, blue and red alike. Now we have a significant air presence on the left, but it's all OH-58CS. I don't quite get this. I understand that you might want to defend against a helicopter push, but this is 40 piece or 40 pops per helicopter. So this is a pretty sizable investment of just a flying AA screen against, well, nothing. There is no helicopter threat. Anyway, it's time for Gubic to get involved. He is pushing and still pushing, and notice just how far he has been able to go. Interestingly, it seems that Red 4 is just pushing through here, and Blue 4 is not even really aware or hasn't bothered to deploy any units over here. Now I could switch to neutral, but I don't want to because that messes up the kill-death result screen after the video, or after the replay. So I'm just going to stick with his viewpoint. And now it's time to go to town. First couple of kills, a helicopter, a tank. Here I think we have the Merkava, who really takes a pounding. Another couple of 30 pointers. Oh, it's a Leclerc, my bad. Still, high value unit, 165. He lost an M84AN in that encounter. It seems that the rest of his tanks are mostly okay, but I think he lost one command tank. No, it's still here, the M84AK. Pushes through, kills off a command infantry while still inside their vehicle. Pinsgauer is next, and there too, Blue 4 somehow needs reminding that they need to offload their infantry. So we had 2 Blue 4 command units in here, and nobody offloaded. The same thing happened in Boris. Nobody capped it, which does deprive Blue of forces. Fedor, nobody capped it. I'm not exactly sure what Blue is doing. So after I complete the screening of this push, I'm going to load up the replay again, and then in neutral viewer, and see what Blue 4 is doing. Make it a sort of after-action review. Now he just keeps going, and he encounters exceptionally little resistance. Savas are continuing down the road, and the M84s are just moving straight up. And they are almost at the sector of Anna, which for Blue would be called Alpha. So this is where they can bring in more units. You can see that Red is almost there. Blue is definitely trying to deter them from getting in. But with the planes coming in here, they barely have enough time to arm their bombs or whatever other armaments they carry. And they have to just hope that there's something left in Anna to spot for them by the time that they get in. For the moment they do have a spotter in the form of the HKP-6A over there, so they should have a really good line of sight on these tanks. But there's 2 command tanks in here. That means that if Red is able to neutralize the command unit in here, they can immediately spawn in whatever the hell they like. Well, so long as it's not a plane. Of course, they won't quite get there completely uncontested, and Thrasher just calls in a Challenger 2. It's now engaged in a short-range fight with a Challenger, and I think that the Challenger is not quite going to win that. Come on, couple more rounds. They neutralize the sector, but we need a command vehicle kill. There's the Challenger killed. Now the Leopard 2 joining in from Red Stranger gets taken out. Note how he spread out his command tanks. One's over here, one's over there. But a Leopard 2A5 is coming back to fight him back. So this guy has to go before he kills off the command tank. Speaking of command tanks, there's a Chieftain over there. And the Chieftain is seemingly one of the units that is capping. And the other one is probably the Puma command helicopter over there. So it's time to push in and get that thing killed. The infantry lost their transport, so they have to push in by foot. And the Vihor is gonna, there we go, kill off the command helo. And next target is gonna be the Chieftain, if it can get the kill. Because at this range, the Chieftain might win that. Ooh, close hit. And there we go, they capped it. Leopard 2A5 is still pushing back. Killed one command tank. The Vihor is down. They have the sector, but it is shaky as holy hell, because they got nothing here to defend. So they immediately spawn in additional units. Gamma, Kula, Vihor. You gotta go quick, because this Leopard 2A5 is not really in the mood to take prisoners. And neither is the M84, which then takes out the 2A5. Kyler's coming in. Akula arrives just at the right moment, and so does the Gamma. Takes out the 2 Kylers which are coming back, and they have the sector. Now, you don't need to kill every unit on the map to win. You just need to break the enemy's will to fight, and that's exactly what they're doing right now. You don't need to just completely eradicate them, just break their will to fight. And it's wonderful how well that is going. For some reason or another, I mean, sure, Gubik got a lot of kills, but Red is at 5,600 points versus Blue's 2,000. That's why I'm going to switch to the neutral after we complete the replay, to see exactly what Blue could have done different. And yes, you can argue that these guys are full of noobs or whatever, newer players, pop stomp. I don't know. I don't know the situation. I don't know how many of these guys were coordinating. I don't know how many guys how many games these guys had under their belt. I don't know. We'll just have to assume that blue apparently was not quite as good as they might have wanted to be. Unfortunately, it's still no real indicator of how many people either played or are left. It seems that Harry Beast left. We saw him actually leave the battle. And... oh, the M84 is on the move. Oh, shit! There goes the command tank. More of an accidental death than anything else. But I think the Leopard would have been able to get a shot. Maybe a kill shot. But, well... due to the M84 moving out and being spotted, the enemy was then luckily able to kill off that tank. Speaking of tank kills, here comes a Tiger. The Vihor has nothing to defend himself. He has no AA, he has no autocannon, nothing. For some reason though, the Tiger seems to be finding the transports over here to be far more juicy than the actual tank down here. And it is falling back. But it is swinging around, launching the HOT, and getting a perfect side shot on the Vihor, killing it in one swift blow. So he's probably, well, pretty much out of Vihors, but at this point, just look at the map. It is all red 4. There's almost no blue left. So let's skip to the end, and then reload and see exactly what blue could have done different. It's just a matter of wrapping up now. And some of those guys on blue are actually still fighting back. I mean, it's a desperate and hopeless fight. But kudos to them for not just immediately surrendering. A couple more transport kills, AA kills. Surprisingly, not a whole bunch of arty. Alright, so. Blue, losses 9,500. Kills 3,500. Somewhere in the middle they fucked up and lost 6,000 points. That's their difference. Gubik, kills 2,358, losses 1,160. He might have lost more than the whole team, but he got more kills than the rest of the team too, and his push allowed the team to win. As for his kills, a couple of early helicopter kills here. The M84N killed the first Crotal, so that was their first kill of the match. Look at this. Tiger, Lynx 7, Recon helicopter, even a Tornado IDS. The Vihor then proceeded to really get the damage in. Leclerc, command section, Challenger 2, Leopard 2, Leopard 2, Leopard 2, command helicopter, command tank. This is a really, really good return on your investment for getting a Vihor. M84AN, another command unit. And aside from that, just a few lower point units. Now, let's go back and see exactly what blue had. Because I don't quite get why they lost this as badly as they did. I mean, the helicopters on the left are a little bit of a clue that they might not exactly have the right force composition. They, for some reason, decided to go with a really, really large helicopter presence. Let's see what blue is coordinating. There you go. There's your first clue. There's far too few attack markers going up. This means that nobody quite knows where the other party is going. And sure, you can look at the units, you can look at the map and go, okay, they might be heading that way. Maybe. Tyrannus at least put up a marker. We have an attack marker from Princess Cadence, and we have an attack marker from Red Stranger. So we know of a couple of people where they're going. Now let's see what they have. Just Fighter and Red Stranger are going in with a couple of helicopters. Not a bad plan, because Red does have the potential to go in with a bunch of helicopters and just deploy infantry quick. Just a bunch of transports, a Merc 3. This thing, I think, got taken out by Sergeant Gubik, but I'm not 100%. All AMX 10RCs? What the hell is this? Maybe he's still deploying forces. Oh shit, that's it? That is it. Okay. I think we might be dealing with a couple of AFK players. Because otherwise, I don't really see how they can fuck up this bad. We got Bashi over here who goes in with all the helicopters. I don't understand this move. Maybe he got traumatized after being helicopter rushed in a previous game. And then decided to go in with all helicopters just to make sure that that never happens to him or his team again. I don't know. That could be an explanation. Princess Cadence has a couple of units going far right. 2 2A5s. Where are you going? There? Alright, if you're going here with 2 2A5s, it's a really risky move. Because the enemy does not need to send very high value infantry to just wipe those things out when they're in the forest. So this is not a great move, bringing a couple of 2A5s. Thrasher. Over on the left. Going with the stalwarts, a stormer, and a couple of helicopters. I think also some planes, otherwise I couldn't exactly explain away how he has so few units. Next, Blue Tyrannus. Going middle with Bashi, but Bashi's the guy who had all the helicopters. Is he trying to create such a huge, well, defensive helicopter force that the enemy cannot land forces here? And by land, I mean helicopter-borne? I don't get it. Rangaran. There you go. Rangaran was AFK at the start of the match. He's only just started deploying his forces, which at this point is too late. Because his forces are going to be arriving by the time that Red 4 potentially is already dug in. So that's his mistake. But then again, you know exactly what happens with Rangaran. We can assume that he was just negligent. I don't know, maybe he had to let his cat back in. Maybe he had to answer the door to receive a package. Maybe he had a fresh baby that he needed cleaning. I don't know. Could be anything. Let's not jump to conclusions. Red Stranger. Red Stranger's going in with a couple of Celtics and the Tiger. Also a couple of French support units, a Quartal. I think he might be going... Yeah, he is at least putting up a defense marker or an attack marker. Voids. Just a couple of Marines. Infantry and more infantry with LAV scouts. Just fighter. Few units on just fighter's end. Peten, Tsefa A, Ramreki, Bordelas. A couple of units coming down through the middle. Well, at least he was at the computer. Hairy Beast. Seeing how few helos he has. And this is also weird. He's using a NATO general deck. Because there's no way in hell you're going to get a Swedish unit to combine with a Japanese unit if you're not playing, or if you're playing a coalition. So he just went general NATO, which is not necessarily a bad move. It's just unusual. A couple of fighters from Voidex. And finally Ironside. Aha. Ironside has 0 units on the map. Again, not necessarily a bad move. He could be playing pure airborne. But I don't know. See, if I were playing a 10v10 and I were to go US airborne or any airborne variety and not deploy helicopters, then it would look like this. I simply wouldn't have any units on the map. Now, what I see happening over here is that the infantry is arriving, but we know what Red 4 is bringing, and it is far, far more. Look at all this. This is a huge column of infantry. And Blue just does not have the numbers. And the numbers that they are bringing is AA infantry, ATGM infantry, which at this short range has 0 chance of actually doing any good damage. Paratroopers, but again, too few of them. They're already going to be facing a small group of Red 4 units. It's only going to get progressively worse from there. In the middle, we got the Chinooks dropping off Delta Force. Of course, the enemy in the form of Spect over here is already dug into this town. Squad stack of Delta Force. He's leading with a TACOM? No, TACOMs are supposed to be in the back, not in the front. Unless you're using reverse psychology and expecting the enemy to bomb this position instead of this, which, well, in that case it would be fair. Over here, they got this helicopter screening force, which is just a massive wasted points. And yes, I know it is after the fact. During the game, he couldn't possibly know what Red 4 was going to be doing. If Red 4 had sent in a helicopter rush, he would have been the man of the match, because he could kill them all and just stop that helicopter offensive dead in its tracks. But right now, their right flank is awfully weak. We do have the Leopard 2A5s, a Leopard 2, a Martyr 2, and some AA units, but that is all that they got going this flank. So this flank could just be a massive steamroll, seeing as Red 4's units, I know it's just a T-72BU and a couple of transports. It could be similar. It could go either way here in Mike. Red 4 starts to rain death on everything here. TACOM did fall back. And this is where the paratroopers start getting their money's worth. Interestingly, the units over here from Jared did get dropped off, I'd say a little early. They could have rushed in a little bit closer, allowing these Spetsnaz to be here, so that the paratroopers could then get killed off by their anti-infantry weapons. What can Blue see? There's your problem. Blue has no reconnaissance in Charlie, nor in this tree line. I know that this tree line isn't too glamorous. There's no cap zone, there's no resupply zone, there's no spawn zone, there's nothing. But it is a pretty important strategic lane, because you never quite know what is coming down here, unless you have recon on it. Now we can finally see something coming down this road. This is probably where Blue has a holy shit moment, where they finally realize, oh crap, this is not good. What is Thrasher doing? Yes, okay. Thrasher is probably micromanaging all his infantry over here. His attention is fully focused on this sector. That's why he didn't offload his CV. How about Just Fighter? Same. Just Fighter's also fighting in this area, trying to do as much as he can. And he too probably has his full attention over here and not on the CV. It makes perfect sense. I'm not saying it's not a mistake, because having a +2 definitely would have helped in trying to counter whatever comes down. But it is understandable where he's coming from and what his processes were probably doing in his head. Another interesting road that this tank column could have taken is just straight down here. Straight down the middle. And then in here. Where for some reason, Blue Tyrannus is setting up a defensive line. It's like he's expecting shit to come down here. And again, Bravo's not capped. Foxtrot's not capped. Whereas Red 4 does have Hotel, Juliet, Lima. They have their capture zones much more locked down than Blue does. Column keeps going. Come on, Blue, at least put up a defense marker. Okay, Red Stranger did. He goes, oh shit, guys, I need help. Voids left the game. After doing a whole 0 points of damage. How do you do 0 points? Now note how it says left the game, not surrendered. Leaving the game happens when you either disconnect by getting disconnected, either your choice or the server. You lose connection for some reason, but he didn't hit surrender. So it might have been some external cause, or he hit Alt F4, in which case you also, I believe, get disconnected. Bombing run comes in, but not on the right target. This is when Rangoran starts to form, or starts to push in with anything that he can, which at that point is probably only a Leopard 2. Thrasher comes in, Red Stranger says help again. Now, Red Stranger is probably still busy with his forces over here. Although at this point, he has less units to manage, so he has a bit more time to focus on the impending doom that's coming into Alpha. Thresher sends to Charlie 2. Which I think does stand a decent chance against the against the Vihor. But not against 4 tanks of this caliber. This thing has 23 frontal armor, Vihors have 22 AP, but they're not fighting at maximum range, they're fighting at less than max. Which means that these things have no problem just penetrating that very good armor on the Charlie 2. Poor thing doesn't have a chance. Anyone help? Yeah, no. I think Harry Beast lost most of his forces as well. Red is pushing and killing off anything that is left in Gulf. Oh, this column just stopped. Okay. Interesting. Princess Cadence didn't keep up the cadence, but in fact stopped. Right in the forest. We still got that smattering of helos. And, well, once again, they're really perfectly useless. Cadence surrenders. And this is, well, pretty much the end of the game. So, a couple of things I think conspired on Blue Force team and happened all at the same time, which made everything go bad. For one, they didn't get the recon in Charlie. 2, they didn't have the infantry over here to hold. Although, to be fair, they're still here. They're still here, and Red probably has more infantry to back them up. Yeah. If Jared had been pushing with the VDV and the Spetsnaz, they could have rolled this town. So I'm actually quite surprised that they lasted as long as they did. The middle was shaky. You never really... Well, it's not going to say... I'm not going to say you don't stand any chance against Blue for infantry, but... Or against Red for infantry, but you're going to have a harder time. It's a bit of an uphill battle. So over here, they would have probably needed more fire support. Maybe some more mortars would have helped. Then again, Spect is a really good player, so you're already at a disadvantage. Far right, it's just not enough forces. Having one AFK player also didn't help. And at this point, I already forgot who that was. The helicopters, I don't know. In 10v10s, you always have the risk of helicopter rush. And if it happens, then a Kiowa like this helps. But if it doesn't happen, and you spend this much on helicopters, and keep in mind that it's not just these 6, but I think there was double that number. This is 500 points in helicopters, if it is indeed double that number. If there had been a helicopter rush, he could have killed it and would have probably saved the match, or at least done a hell of a lot of damage to Red. But now, all of these things are just, well, monumentally useless. Because there is nothing that they can attack. There's nothing that dares to come close to them either. So, sure, you're keeping Red 4 at bay, but Red 4 doesn't really need to be kept at bay here, since they're already over there. So just a combination of things that went wrong. Oh yeah, and of course, a complete lack of attack markers. And with a complete lack of attack markers, nobody really knows who goes where. So please, at the start of a 10v10, let people know what you're doing. Do it through an attack marker. Chat can work, but an attack marker is usually more clear. It's easier to read because it's like an actual thing on the map. Whereas chat disappears after a couple of seconds, which means that if you're not paying attention to it, you simply will miss it. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed the match. I am testing a little bit more with these sort of after-action reports to see if this is a format that I like and that you guys like as well. Let me know down below in the comments how you like this sort of after-action analysis after seeing that massive attack from Red right down the middle and then trying to figure out how that happened. Again, it is not really your average match because it is not normal that Red's able to push through here. But then again, it's the outliers which are more interesting than all the average games. Because all the average games, I've seen so many of them. So I need the outliers to keep stuff like this interesting for myself. Anyway, that's all for today. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed, then please support me on Patreon. Every little bit helps. Down below in the description. You can find the link for that. And you do get perks, so that, for example, you get to know which new videos are coming up a couple of days to a week ahead of schedule. Anyway, that's all. Thank you for watching, and I'll catch you guys on the next one.